Boys and girls, Benjamin Bachor here. We are finally back in F1 23. I'm excited for the new season, so I decided to get back into some actual racing. So on screen right now, you can see we have a race at Bahrain. This was just like a week ago or something like that. Qualified on pole, starting on the mediums. Not a really great start, but in the second phase, we kind of pull away a little bit. P2 on the inside there, so we're going to go out a little bit wide here, and the proximity arrow is still there. He gets pushed out wide and kind of hits our front end a little bit, and then we try to make turn 2, and we get sideswiped by one of the other drivers. So not a great start to the race here. I have a replay at the end of the race. We'll kind of go over what happened there, but nothing we can do now. We're down to P6. Fortunately, there were only 6 drivers, and you can see there's a little bit of understeer in the car here. And during the race, it really didn't really come to my attention just yet, but we were just so focused on trying to catch up to this pack here that I just decided to put my head down and continue on driving. Now, fortunately, the pack isn't super far ahead of us. There's a group of 2 cars right there, right in front of us that look like they should be easy to catch up to. And then you have the top 3 a little bit further down the road there. So having to use a little bit of battery here to try and catch up. I hate using battery this early on in the race unless it's super close. But we are quite a ways behind everybody else, so I'm going to have to drain a little bit of battery to try and catch up. And like I said, these last 2 drivers weren't really fast anyway, so even without using too much battery, we were still able to catch up to them. So once again, using a little bit of battery just as we come out turn 14, I believe it is, and then on to the final corner here. Again, some issues with the car. Really wasn't quite sure. I thought maybe I just hit the curbs the wrong way or something like that, but now we flashed through, and you might have missed it. I missed it when I was scrolling through. I initially thought it was just tire temps, so I brought the tire temps up to see if they were overheating from the incident, but they look fine. And at this point, I didn't see the damage on the front wing. But as we go into turn 4 on lap 2, we get hit with wave of understeer once again. And at this point, I was like, something feels off. The tire temps are okay. And then we get more understeer through here as the 2 guys ahead start fighting through this section. And then we come into this right-hander here. And again, I'm like, the car just does not want to turn in. So flipping through my MFD, and finally it comes up. I've got light yellow damage to the front right wing. And I thought, we've already got 1 DNF. These 2 guys aren't super far ahead. I was wondering if maybe I should just stay out on track, but as you can see, the leader is already quite a ways ahead, so I thought better of it. Since these 2 guys ahead of us were fighting like crazy anyway, I was like, I don't want to be stuck behind these guys for another lap or 2, or however long they're gonna decide to fight. So I decided to come in on this lap to change out the tires. Unfortunately, we're already on the mediums, so we can't go onto the softs. The only option we have is to go onto the hards and get this damaged front wing fixed. But as we come into the pit lane, we do manage to change the tires, but we can't change the front wing repair. I really wish they would just make front wing repair automatic. I mean, they have it set to auto, but I think if you have any damage to the front wing, they should just change out the front wing anyway. So we get the new tires on, but we don't get the front wing changed. Jump to lap number 8 now. Everybody's in the pit lane except for 1 guy. And as you can see, we catch up to Massim6207, who was the guy that started P2, kind of pushed us out wide on turn 1, lap 1. And he is the net leader at this point, as Kentera still hasn't boxed yet. So we're stuck behind this guy. It's a good sign, though. We were able to get a really huge undercut onto the hard tires and catch up to him. I think he was like a good 5 or 6 seconds ahead of us when we boxed. But at this point, there's nothing we can do. We're on aging hard tires. We've got a damaged front wing. Maxime, I think that's how you pronounce it. Maxime is on much fresher softs and no damage to his front wing. And no matter how close we were able to stay behind, every time we got into a DRS zone. We just were not able to stick close enough on the previous corner to really make a move. As you can see, they're just waiting and waiting and waiting to get on throttle, and by the time we do get to the DRS line, he's already almost 7/10 ahead, and even with DRS we really weren't able to make a move. Now I was trying to save battery to try and make one last good move, but it just did not go our way, and we cut to the penultimate lap, well, end of lap 12, start of the penultimate lap there. We do have 40%. We're using battery, we're using DRS, but I assume he's got battery as well. A little bit of movement. I'm sure it wasn't anything too egregious there, but we just cannot get close enough with battery and DRS to make an overtake. So yeah, unfortunate for us. We got damaged early on in the race, fell all the way to the back of the grid, and then we didn't get the front wing fixed. I think if we got the front wing fixed, I probably would have been able to catch up to him anyway, but we wouldn't have been able to jump those 2 or 3 guys in the pit lane. So I don't know where we would have been, but obviously if we didn't get damage on the first lap, I think this would have been a super easy win. As you can see, we're on the final lap here now. Get down to the final corner, and with the front wing damage, just still cannot get any turn in, and he just gets a better exit. Yeah, that's just how it goes. Sometimes you can be the quickest guy in the grid and you still will not win because of circumstances that you can't control. So unfortunate for us, but still a good recovery race to make it all the way back up to P2. Here's the replay. So P2 gets pushed out a little bit wide. I mean, I kind of understand it. He locks up and then he kind of forces himself wide on his own a little bit. But this is where the worst part of our race happened, when we got sideswiped going into turn 2. So like I said, unfortunate, but still good enough to get back to P2, and a good recovery race for us. So now we are at Monza. This is one of the current ranked races. Okay, I don't know why that was so difficult for me to say. As you can see up at the top left, we are currently P2, but then I thought this is going to be boring as hell. We're probably going to get just pile drived into turn 1, and sitting at the front and finishing at the front is no fun. So I just slammed on the brakes right at the end, and I was like, holy crap, I just slammed on the brakes and we're still only in P8. So there must have been a bunch of other much slower drivers behind us, but doesn't matter anyway. We're starting P8 here. I decided to go on the softs because if we got into any incidents, I still have the option of going onto the mediums or onto the hards, but I'm not really sure if this is the right decision. So before the lights go out, 1 jump start, 2 jump starts, or just 1 jump start. So we got 1 drive through. We managed to jump the guy directly in front of us on the grid, trying to get a decent position into turn 1. We get slammed from behind, and then we go into OnlyFans in front of us. But luckily, we still managed to make it out okay. As you can see, we get an illegal overtake on Judge Gomes there, who ghosted back in right as we passed him. So we have to slow down, let him by. This was the guy that was on pole. So I was like, great, he's super quick. We'll just sit behind him. Even though we are on the better tire, I'm not going to try and fight him. I'll let him go and waste his battery and overtake the guys ahead, and then I will just follow on through. So guys, this is one of those opportunities where driving smarter is a much better decision than just trying to overtake everybody that's in front of you. If I overtake him, then I have to waste my battery chasing down the guys ahead and overtaking them. I might as well just sit behind him. He's on the slower tires. I should be able to keep up with him even if he is quicker than us. Take advantage of the DRS that he's going to give us and save our battery for later on in the race. So currently we find ourselves in P6. Absolutely no threats from behind. As you can see, Falcon F17 is almost 3 seconds behind. So I'm not even focused on the guys behind me, not focused on defending or anything like that. We're going to save our battery, just try to make sure that we maintain our gap to the drivers in front here, and then pick them off one by one when Judge overtakes them. So lap 2 going into turn 1, 2 cars ahead of Judge are fighting, which allows us to close up a little bit, and luckily again the guys who are out in front, P1, P2, not exactly quick. They aren't super far ahead or anything like that. So we're kind of taking in all the data that's happening in the race. Now, if they were super far ahead or they were starting to pull ahead, I might start getting a little bit more aggressive, but they're not really that far. So why waste all your battery, all your tires, trying to overtake guys that you're going to eventually overtake anyway? Other people who are in my position would probably just waste their entire battery trying to get out into P1 for absolutely no reason. We're going to catch up to these guys eventually anyway. The qualifying times weren't all that great. Judge was really fast, but the guy who qualified P2 was like a second and a half slower than him. So considering we were pretty close to Judge in qualifying, as we make this move on Stowy, who had a pretty poor Ascari. Judging by our times, we're not really in a rush. So as you can see, starting lap 3 now, we still have over 80% battery, just using a little bit right now to make sure that Stowy doesn't use his battery to try and come back at us. I'm waiting for the lights ahead of me to start flashing to let me know that they've been using their battery, but we're still in a pretty good position here. P1, P2 just going into turns 1 and 2 right now. We are just about going into turn 1 and 2, so they're not too far ahead. No need to panic and do anything stupid, get over aggressive or anything like that. Judge is doing a good job of picking these guys off one by one, and as he goes by, he's slowing them down enough to the point where I can overtake without having to waste too many of my resources either. So this is what I'm talking about when I say drive smarter and not too aggressively this early on in the race. It's only lap 3, guys, and the leader's only like 3 seconds ahead of us, so no need to panic here. Judge is about to make another move. DRS has been enabled. I don't know if he's going to make this move into a Ascari or not, but we are still 8/10 to OnlyFans here, so we're in a good position as well. We'll wait until the main straight. This is what I was thinking. We'll wait until the main straight. If OnlyFans doesn't have battery, it's going to be an easy overtake. And even without using battery, we still have decent straight line speed. I'm not even in the toe. I was barely in the toe there. So I thought as long as we have DRS, we can just use battery and our straight line speed to overtake at least one of these guys here. So fortunately, Judge is still in P4. He still has to make this overtake. OnlyFans doesn't have any DRS, and it's an easy overtake for us. I'm trying not to overtake Judge because I think he's quicker than me, and getting in front of him would only slow us down. So I decided to just kind of let off the throttle a little bit as we got into turn 1. Let Judge stay ahead of me. I don't want to battle him. I don't want us to lose any time. Looks like P1's starting to pull away a little bit at this point, so now we have to get to business here. So once again, just sitting behind Judge here, letting him pick off All Gas 10, who is 1.5 seconds in front of us. He's on the mediums. Nahumsi sets the fastest lap, but he's over a pit stop behind us, so we don't really have to worry about that. Judge is right on All Gas's gearbox here. We get DRS as well. I don't think Judge is going to make the overtake here, as All Gas is going to just get DRS again, but he does. He actually makes the overtake, and we close up to the driver ahead. So here I was thinking, do we want to use a little bit of battery here to try and get in front of him? And I thought, yeah, Judge is starting to pull away. As you can see, he's already over a second in front. And I don't want to get stuck behind another driver for another lap. So we get a good parabolica. All Gas does not. I'm using a little bit of battery here to try and close up, not necessarily to defend from behind, as All Gas had a pretty poor parabolica, so he's not going to catch up anyway. And now we have caught up to the leader, and we still have almost 50% battery left. So I'd say this is a very good strategic race for us. Knowing that Judge was faster than us anyway, I wasn't going to do anything stupid, force an overtake where he would just come back at us on the next lap. I want to dispatch as many of these slow drivers as possible, and then make the move towards the end of the race. The one mistake that did happen here, I didn't really foresee this happening. I didn't see pole position dropping all the way back. I probably, if I started on the mediums, I think we would have been in a better position, as we are wasting the faster tire just kind of sitting behind slower traffic. I think if we had started on the mediums, we would have been able to save the faster tire for the second half of the race, and give us a better chance of winning. As you can see, Judge is on the mediums and Tet on Fire is on the mediums here. So they will both be on the softs later on in the race, and I will be on the slower tires. So I think I probably should have started on mediums, but you can't really see this stuff happening. What I was thinking was turn 1 into Monza is going to be a mess, and I don't want to be on the soft tires here. I didn't want to do the overtake, but we had so much overspeed that I had to slam on the brakes and hope to God that I didn't lock up and slam into the back of Tet on Fire there. So luckily for us, we didn't go into the back of him, but we did lose a little bit of time having to slam on the brakes, lose the momentum in turns 1 and 2, and now we have to catch up to them again. So Tet is just outside of DRS here, but we still have 65% battery, so I wasn't really in a rush here, and I thought if we can't catch up to him and overtake him with DRS, I'm going to box on this lap to get an undercut. So Judge is already 2 seconds ahead. As you can see, bring up the box this lap option. I was about to come in and I was hoping and praying that Tet would stay out for one more lap. But I think he sees the writing on the wall. He's losing time to P1. He's probably going to try and get an undercut himself. So I was like, please stay out, please stay out, please stay out. I want to get in here and just overtake him in the pits so that we avoid any collisions on track. He goes out super wide to the left and then he cuts right back over to the right and he jumps into the pits. So we don't really have a choice here. If I jump into the pits behind him, we're just going to be behind him again. So I thought, let's just get to it, waste all of our battery on this lap, try to close up to Judge Gomes as much as possible, and then try and get an overcut on Tet. So as you can see there, we actually closed in about 4/10, almost half a second to P1 just on the start-finish straight, just continuing to drain the rest of our battery, P3, P4, P5, all into the pit. So we need to have a really, really good lap here to make sure that we get the overcut. And now the gap to P1 is coming down even more. Yes, he is on the mediums, but at this point my soft tires are in a worse condition. I think I might have overfueled a little bit too much as well. Monza is one of those tracks where the way I drive, I actually conserve fuel. So I probably should have gone like 0.1 or 0.2, but we ended up putting in 0.5 and we're still a little bit heavy with fuel. So coming to the end of lap number 7 into the Ascari chicane now, Judge is starting to pull away a little bit again. Now the gap was at like 1.3 earlier on in the lap. Now it's closer to 1.5. As you can see, almost 23 seconds to Tet behind us. And we're going to come in and hope to God that this lap was good enough to help us get an overcut. So Judge comes in as well. He's going to go on to the softs, and at this point I realize there's no way in hell we are going to win this race. The most we can hope for is get a good overcut, and here we are exiting the pit lane. Take a look at that blue dot in the lower left hand corner on the mini map, and he is getting closer and closer and closer. We get a little bit of wheel spin on the exit of the pit lane, but going into turn 1 we managed to hang on. Now it doesn't mean it's over though. He is on much warmer soft tires. We are on really cold medium tires, and so we still have to do enough here to extend our gap. As you can see, Judge is 1.9 ahead, but it's not going to happen. If he was able to maintain that gap to us with the medium tires while we were on the soft tires, he is just going to pull away. So at this point, the win, I've already decided I'm not going to worry about the win at this point. Right now, my job is to extend the gap. And as you saw there, if you missed it while I was talking, going into the first, or exiting the first Lesmos, he goes out wide. He was about 8/10 behind us, and now the gap is at 1.3. So we did manage to do just enough to extend that gap from Tet on Fire to make sure that he wasn't able to use DRS to catch up to us. So now as we start the final lap, you can see P1 has already pulled away 4.5 seconds. It was up to about 5.5 seconds at one point. Now his tires are starting to die a little bit. Our mediums are starting to become a little bit faster. I think I need to up the tire pressures a little bit. As you can see, we're only at 95 and 93 degrees on the front, and I could definitely feel it in the race. We just could not get enough turn in on these tires, and I think it's because our temps were a little bit too low. So I think next time we do a race at Monza, they're not at minimum pressures actually. I think they're like 4 or 5 clicks above minimum pressure. I think I maybe need to go maybe +3 on both sides to make sure that we get decent temps. As you can see, we go through the more corner-laden section of Monza, and our tires are still only at 94, 95 degrees. So we definitely need to up those pressures. I think the rear tires are okay. Maybe 1 or 2 clicks to get them closer to 100 degrees Celsius might do us some good as well. But yeah, we kind of lost this race from the beginning with the tire choice, but still good enough to come back and only lose the race by about 4 seconds. P1 slams on the brakes right here, so it makes it look like it was a lot closer. But if he had continued to go on, it would have been only about 4 seconds. But we managed to dump 9 seconds on P3, so it wasn't too bad a race. And yeah, it was actually enjoyable starting from the back. I think I need to do this more, because starting on pole and finishing in P1 is absolutely boring, and I have like 15 races where that happens, where I just have no content to really talk about. So that's it for us, guys. If you enjoyed that, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. The start of the season's about to happen, and we're starting to get some leaks on F1 24, so hopefully you'll see some news on that, and hopefully I'll get some more of these races out, as this one was really funny, and the race at Bahrain was fun as well. You know, being knocked out in turn 1 and having to come back to do a recover race. I think that's what we need to do, just start at the back and not even worry about the win and just see how well we do. But yeah, that's it, guys. You know, like I'd already said, if you think I've earned it, feel free to leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Stay tuned for more. Remember to eat a bok choy. I'll see you all in the next one.